Oh yeah, oh yeah.
That's better.
You know what I'm feeling?
Boosted?
I'm feeling that my body is boosted. Hi friends, my name is Sean, the Modern Yeoman. And to those that don't know me, a little bit about our situation. I live on an 11-acre property here in East Tennessee, along with 3 generations of family. My parents actually live in a house on their shared property that they've been renovating. And about 100 yards from that, I share a house with my wife, my young son, and my mother-in-law. We currently have 20-some-odd laying hens, turkeys for meat, pigs for meat, and a moderately sized garden where we grow things like sweet potatoes, peppers, and cabbage, among other assorted edibles. We've also raised meat chickens in the past, and will probably do so again. We've been here now for a little over 2 years, and even though those 2 years have been incredibly difficult at times, they've been more rewarding than I ever could have anticipated. With the help of my dear friend Nate Kramer of The Kramer Life, who actually put together most of the video that you're about to watch, thank you, Nate, we decided to put out a retrospective of those 2 years. The ups, the downs, the in-betweens, everything that got us to where we're at right now. And where are we right now? Well, we're certainly not in a place where we're perfect, but we are moving forward, slowly moving forward. And that's the important thing, moving forward. Now you might be wondering where everything began. Actually right across the state border in Asheville, North Carolina, in a really tiny apartment. Let's take a look.
Yes. I'm sorry. I just did not expect you. Can we start over?
Hi folks, welcome to The Modern Yeoman. My name is Sean Higgins, and recently my wife Holly and I bought a farm. Holly and I currently live on the 3rd floor of a very modern apartment building here in Asheville, North Carolina. So the prospect of moving out into a genuine chunk of land, no matter how big or small that chunk might be, is frankly a gigantic step for us. Before we moved down to Asheville, Holly and I did own a house on a 1/4-acre plot up in Ypsilanti, Michigan. It was a great house, and while we did have garden boxes and chickens, decent-sized lawn, a barbecue in the back, it was a suburban affair. Zoning policies and sidewalks, streetlights, and neighborhood gossip. It wasn't the country. We don't really know exactly what we're getting into, but we're excited about it. So let's get busy. We made it to the farm. We moved in, I think, 5 days ago, and we've been busy ever since, getting used to the land, exploring things a bit. And while I'd be happy to sit here and talk to you about our experience for the next 5 minutes, I figured it'd be a lot more entertaining if I just showed you around the place. So why don't we start with the land and take a walk? Let's go. The very first thing that you see here is this rickety old carport. If nothing else, you can say that it has character. But it does the trick. It covers our car and it covers the riding lawnmower, which is all that we're asking it to do. So we have a shed. As you can see, there's a lot of junk in here that needs to be cleared away. And of course, the barn. Now there's 3 primary things going on with this barn. Number 1, there is so much junk in here, just random industrial flotsam and old agricultural equipment, wood, some of it's good, some of it's bad. All of it needs to be cleared away or at least stored somewhere else. There's some structural issues that I'm a little worried about. Things like holes in the roof and beams that aren't completely solid. Finally, as with the shed back there in the carport, this place is wired up for electricity, but it doesn't work. So eventually we'll need to get that figured out. Whether we get an electrician out here or not is a bridge we'll have to cross when we get there. I was finally able to finish my mobile chicken coop, aka the Chickshaw Mini-Me. It's taken me a little while just because parts are a little bit hard to come by nowadays and a little bit more expensive than they were previously. But I was able to finish it finally, and it's been worth it. The chickens, without any nudging from me, have already taken to it very well. They've been hanging out inside of it. I set it up inside of their run, and they've come to it. They've just been naturally attracted to it. I haven't started keeping them out here at night, but I imagine that's probably coming soon here in the next few days. got some pretty gigantic news today, and I'm gonna get into that, but before I do, there's something I wanna show you. Let's go. So what do you see down here on the ground? Probably not much, right? But let me rephrase the question. What don't you see? And the answer, my friends, is that you don't see an ankle-deep puddle of rainwater. Now, I've mentioned this in previous videos, but we do have a bit of a drainage problem here on the property. Whenever it rains, and it does rain a fair amount here, water tends to collect here on the front porch into a giant puddle. And the thing about that puddle is that it drains directly into our crawl space. All of today it was raining. Most of last night it was raining as well. And yet there's no puddle here. Why is that? I think the reason is because I might have fixed the problem. You see, most of the runoff water was coming from 3 sources: the kitchen downspout, the mudroom downspout, and the carport. In the previous video, I just had the 2 barrels set up by the kitchen. Well, now, obviously, I've got all 4 barrels set out, collecting from both of these downspouts, in addition to this gutter that I've hung from the carport. So instead of all the rain collecting down next to the house, into the front porch, it's either collected by the barrels, or it goes down into the driveway and away from the house. Not only do I get a dry basement, I also get a lot of free water. I've already got over 100 gallons that I've collected in less than a day. That's water that I can use for the chickens, that's water that I can use for the garden, and it's all for free. Now, before I get into it too deep, let me tell you a little bit about our property here. We all told we have a little bit under 4 acres. It's a nice mix of pasture and woods. It's a great start for our homestead. But that 4 acres is surrounded by roughly 6 acres of even more pasture and woods. 6 acres that we really love. Now, shortly after we bought our property, around 3 months ago or so, the surrounding property, the 6 acres surrounding our property, went up for sale. Now, suffice it to say, Holly and I were in no position to make a purchase to buy that 6 acres. But we did get to thinking, man, how great would it be if somebody that we know or loved was able to buy that 6 acres? After the 6 acre property went up for sale, my parents, who live here in the Knoxville area, put an offer on that property, and their offer was accepted. My parents and I are going to jointly have 10 acres of land that we're able to work together as a family. We can take on projects together. My dad is already talking about helping me with the barn. My mom is talking about getting goats. We're gonna split eggs. We're gonna work on a garden and crops together. We've just doubled our manpower, essentially. And you might be wondering where exactly my parents are gonna live once they move onto the property. Well, there is a house here on this 6 acre property. It's been unoccupied for some time now and frankly needs quite a bit of TLC. So my parents' plan is fairly simple. In the next few weeks, they're gonna fix this house up to make it livable, and they're gonna move in here and live here for the winter. Now, are they gonna keep it, or are they gonna build a new house on this property? They haven't decided yet. If they like this house that came with the property and they're able to fix it up enough, they may just decide to stay here. Then again, there's 6 acres of beautiful property around here that would be perfect for a new build. Either way, they're setting themselves up for quite an adventure, which I hope to capture here on the channel. Morning, everyone. So it's moving day. My parents are moving onto the property. So I lost the camera, but I found it, obviously. And in the meantime, we were able to empty this entire 30-foot, 26-foot U-Haul. So that operation, that phase of the move out is complete. However, we're still stuck in the mud. So our next stop is to try and get this thing out of the mud before we end up calling a tow truck to winch it out. We hope we don't have to do that, but We're gonna see if we can pop this thing out of the mud.
I think put the rocks under. I'm gonna put the rocks under.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
It's not working. Well, after a lot of waiting, we called up a professional who was certainly professional and was able to winch Dad out of the mud. You can see here the spots that the U-Haul truck left behind. And so he's back on solid gravel and ready to pull out. So it was a little bit interesting, but we made it work. If you've been watching my channel, then you're probably aware that one of my first intentions for this homestead was, and continues to be, cleaning the darn place up. Piles of bric-a-brac can be found scattered across our 10-acre homestead. Old farm junk, construction debris, scrap metal, even a broken down old trailer back in the woods. There's a lot of junk here. And while some of it's certainly salvageable, the raw bulk of it needs to be hauled away. So what am I gonna do with all of this junk? I can't get rid of it all at once. Well, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna prioritize. In the last video presentation, I went into some detail about how I intend to clean out the barn. Now, I bring up the barn in particular here because, well, it's a priority. We really like to have this barn ready to go, ready to use by the spring. I envision it kind of as the heartbeat of the homestead. I'd like to keep my chicken supplies in here. I'd like to store more than one bale of hay in the hayloft. And yes, I'd like to eventually put ruminants in the stalls, sheep, goats, maybe even a donkey. So we get back to that word, priorities. I've determined that cleaning out this barn is my top priority. So I'm going to focus all of my efforts on clearing the clutter out of this place before I even touch that other stuff. The very first thing I did was clear out this manger shed thingy so I can store any good salvageable wood that I find in the barn here. The next thing I did was clear out this north porch lean-to space. It was very cluttered in here, so by clearing it out, I gave myself a lot of extra space. Junk wood goes into this pile, where it will either be burned or saved for when we rent a wood chipper, turn it into mulch. I think you get the picture. I'll get to all that other junk eventually, but right now it's just not a priority. This barn is. Well, folks, the moment has finally arrived where I can make the declaration that the barn clean-out project is finished. There is no trash in this barn. All 4 of the stables in the downstairs part of the barn are pretty much cleaned out. I'm going to put deep litter on them eventually, maybe mulch as well, but they're clean. They don't have cabinets or broken glass or old buckets or anything in them. They're ready to go, basically. And the hayloft itself is actually coming along as well. Now I've got maybe 80% of the floor space in the hayloft ready to go, as well as some lamps up there. There's no trash in the south wing, and there's no trash in the north wing, just salvage wood. For 3 months, that barn has just sat there. I couldn't even use it because I couldn't even walk through it. Well, now I can use it. Now I can walk through it. It's fair to say that I have a barn now. It took 2 full dumpster loads. This is the second load right here, and $300 in rental fees to complete this project. To my mind, worth every single penny. Now that the barn is cleared out, it's obvious that there are some repairs that need to be made. Thankfully, we do have electricity running to the barn now, thanks to my friend Nate Kramer of the Kramer Life. He actually helped me wire the barn up. But other than that, there are some clear issues. A janky support column, blown out roof panels, rotten wood here and there, all issues that I need to take on eventually. Good morning, friends, and Merry Christmas. It's still pretty early here, but something kind of strange has happened last night. Strange, at least for eastern Tennessee. It snowed a lot. So I'm either gonna have to force it open or pour some hot water on it. got this bowl of hot water. I'm gonna try dipping a cup into it, pouring the hot water over the seams of the door to try and open this thing up. The chickens are panicking inside. They know that they can get out, but the guy that normally lets them out, which is me, isn't doing it. And they're hungry and probably thirsty too. And now they're a little bit wet. Ah, man. Took a sledgehammer, mallet hammer. All right, ladies, come on out. All right, so phase one of the project is done. I've cut all the wood that I wanted to cut today, and I can even see daylight through this passage here, which is pretty incredible for me since I haven't been able to see this path open since we moved onto the property. Also, we got a lot of really good wood. This tree that was down was apparently a cedar, and if you could smell this right now, you would be enchanted, I'm sure. Check out the red inside the middle of this log. This mulch is going to be very pleasant smelling. It's hard to believe, but it was about a year ago today that we actually began our journey on this homestead. I thought it'd be really interesting to see how things have changed in a year. A couple of days ago, I found some old footage from approximately a year ago when we came out here for the inspection, shortly after we had started the purchasing process on this property. There was 2 clips of that walk around that managed to squeak through and survive. And the first one was this area right here, this kind of home acre. And a year ago, this was a lawn. This was just grass. It didn't have this garden here. The area around the garden shed, the manger shed, was just covered in brush. And I caught a little bit of it, enough to where you can see the difference between how things looked a year ago versus how they look now. A year ago, it was just a lawn, and it was a nice looking lawn. It was pretty, but it didn't have this giant active kitchen garden sitting in the middle of it. And so to look at these 2 pieces of footage side by side, one from a year ago and one from today, is something that's really heartening to me, something that's really cool and encouraging to see. The second piece of footage that survived was me walking through the barn. And the very first thing that you see here in this old footage is this tractor. The previous owners had parked their tractor and had a bush hog. They parked it in here. In the old footage, I walked up to the hayloft, and just looking at that old footage and comparing it with how things look now is just incredible. It was just a storehouse for a lot of old salvage stuff, and it wasn't in really any kind of order. But now, as you can see, it's a functional space. I've put a lot of that salvage wood on the walls, and the hay is still here. We're still going through that hay, but this is a functional space. It's really come into its own, and I'm really excited and happy about what we were able to do with that. The second piece of footage that I got was here in the south lean-to. Now, a year ago, the south lean-to was, again, just another storehouse for a lot of junk, a lot of trash. There were a few pieces of salvage in there, but by and large, it was just industrial waste. Things like paint cans, rotted wood, old wire spools that we couldn't do anything with at the time. And now, to look at it, it's actually the headquarters for our laying flock. We've got our coop here. We've got this mulch thrown down on the ground that we're actually using in our compost after we've let it sit with the chicken poop for a few weeks. And we've got, of course, chickens and a Premier One fence running around it. And these are some happy chickens that are making much better use of this space than the junk that was sitting here previously. And so I got to tell you guys, sometimes day by day, as I go through the motions and doing my chores and taking care of things, I'm not going to lie, it can be somewhat discouraging, not seeing progress go by very quickly. But when I see footage like this from a year ago that I had kind of forgotten existed, and to see the drastic amount of change that's occurred reminds me of the motto of this channel, which if you've watched this channel long enough, you know that our motto is slowly, slowly. Incrementally, small changes, day by day, working every single day, even if it's not a huge amount of change that you can incur on a daily basis, if you do it little by little, eventually the changes that do occur are pretty drastic. So we got the meat chickens in. Here they are. We still haven't opened the box to see how many made it, how many didn't make it. 25 in there. There should be.
Jeez, they're so thirsty. They're all hogging the water. Get it, girl. They're all taking a bath.
There's a saying in this world that chickens are the gateway drug to homesteading. And if that sentiment is true, then I think it's fair to say that I've OD'd on them. I also think it's fair to say that I'm loving every minute of it. Currently, we have 53 chickens on the homestead, separated into 4 different flocks. There's the main laying crew, the laying crew that I've had since September of last year. There's the new laying crew, the teenage laying crew, who should hopefully be integrated into the main laying crew here within a month or so. There's the Kramer chickens, who have been very well behaved, probably much more behaved than any of my other chickens. And then, of course, there's the meat chickens. Hi there, yo folks. Welcome back to the Homestead. I'm Sean the Modern Yeoman, and this is not a normal video today. I was filming this morning, and we had a pretty interesting occurrence. A hawk or a falcon, some sort of bird of prey, was very brave and actually swooped in on one of these little meat birds. I was lucky enough to actually get the whole thing on film. It's interesting to watch the footage just to see where he's coming from. You can see him swoop in, go around the tractor, kind of move his wing around the tractor, and then try for one of the meat chickens. Thankfully, he didn't get the meat chicken. It was a missed opportunity for him, so he kept flying past me. And of course, it takes me a few seconds to process what just happened. Was that just a giant bird of prey that flew past my head, feet away from me? Yes, it was. It's amazing how easy some projects are, but they still get pushed to the side. This is an example of one of those things. This took me a total of 5 minutes or so, and it's just something I had put off for months, but now I finally got around to it, and all of the chickens, especially these young ones, I think, are thankful that they'll get a little more square footage that they can hide from the rain. What is this beverage, this fall beverage called, Holly?
Fire cider.
Fire cider.
Fire cider is a mix of herbs and roots and spices, and it's sort of a catch-all thing that is a very traditional folk herbal remedy. It's a really great immune tonic. Can I say that word on YouTube? It's a great thing to stay healthy through the season of fall. It boosts your body.
It boosts your body. So the extra powerful version. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
That's better.
You know what I'm feeling?
Boosted?
I'm feeling that my body is boosted. Our big goal for the homestead is to be growing 50% of all of the food that we eat within 2 years, maybe 3 years. That's a lofty goal. We might not get there, but that's what we're shooting for. So whether we're growing food in the garden, which, eventually I'd like to make the garden bigger and potentially start growing out some rows of things, of high starch items, things like potatoes and cabbage, stuff that we can store long term and that could get us by any funkiness in the grocery supply lines. 50% of our own food. There's the garden stuff, the potential rows that will grow, and then chickens, and eventually within a year or two, pigs. Pigs are the next big meat animal that we want to get into, and that'll probably be next year that we do that. Eventually, I'd like to get into sheep, lamb, things like that. We have deer that run through our acreage. I'd like to start hunting them and dressing them on our property, so we'd have deer in the freezer as well. Maybe one day we could get even more. 75% of our food. So what do you think, Holly? Are we gonna harvest some of this stuff today?
Yeah, I'm gonna harvest a bunch of the peppers, a lot of jalapenos. I'm either gonna freeze or pickle them, harvest a bunch of the peppers.
12-foot okra out of the ground.
Yeah, they're starting to look really scraggly. And of course, digging up the potatoes, which
I think we should start with that.
Yeah, let's start with the potatoes. There's so many down there. It's gonna be nuts.
Oh yeah, I'm just seeing them stick up from everywhere. Oh man. So we got a lot of vines here, which apparently chickens really benefit from. So I'm gonna split this between the Kramer chickens and our layers. And ruin my fence in the process. All right, we got the vines up. Underneath the vines, there's a lot of weeds that grew, but there's also a lot of sweet potatoes that grew as well. A lot. Just looking at this, you can see tons of sweet potatoes just sticking up, ready to be processed. So let's get to that.
In my tea.
Gross. I love to see it. Oh, look, a regular potato.
Oh.
And a worm. I'd say the soil is doing pretty well. This is a sign of healthy soil. We've got a lot of these big old earthworms. I need to get some handles for this thing. It might be too wet to use this sifter. Our sweet potato harvest has surpassed our wildest dreams. We didn't expect this successful of a sweet potato harvest, and we're so glad that it is this successful. For those of you that have watched the channel for a little while, you know how kind of lackluster the beginning of our gardening season was. The garden did not start off the way we expected it to. So to kind of end the gardening season on this note, where we get this huge bounty of sweet potatoes, of calories, it ties in exactly with what I was talking about earlier, how we want to start producing more and more of the food we consume. And one of the best ways to do that on a homestead is growing calorie-rich, starchy things like potatoes, sweet potatoes, in addition to meat. So having such a successful sweet potato yield is very, very encouraging for us.
No. Oh my goodness. What? This is fun. It's like all these little treasures. Look at all this.
What'd you get there?
All kinds of peppers, jalapenos, bell peppers, red hot cherry peppers, which are our favorite, banana peppers, lots of goodness. So some of it I'm going to freeze, some of it I'm going to dry, some of it I'm going to turn into fermented goodness.
About a year ago, my wife Holly and I bought this property here in East Tennessee. It's about 4 acres. Our intention was to start growing our own food. Shortly after we bought our property, my parents bought the adjoining property, which was around 6 acres. With those properties combined, we have the Homestead, which is around 10 acres in total. Like I said, our goal from the very beginning was to grow our own food. But this first year has been kind of a struggle just getting things up and running. We had a lot of work to do to get to the point where we could start growing our own food. We had to clear some land. We had to build infrastructure for the chickens. We had to clean out the barn. We had to clear space for a garden. You get the point. We had quite a bit of work that we had to accomplish this first year. While we had a variety of different goals for this year, we had 3 primary goals. The first one, build a garden. The second one, get some chickens to lay eggs for us. The third goal for this year, get some chickens for meat, aka freezer chickens. We're getting close, guys. Note what all 3 of those goals have in common. They're food related. That leads me to where I'm at now and my idea of calories. One thing Holly and I have noticed over the past year is how much more expensive food has gotten for us, our grocery bills essentially. All of a sudden I began to look at the Homestead like my very own private grocery store. A grocery store that, yes, I put in some initial upfront costs, but I go out and get what I need for free. We are going to be processing our meat chickens. It's something that we've built up to the whole time we've been here, and we've been raising these meat chickens, which we've effectively called the meatballs, for 3 months now. And so today's a big day. This isn't fun or easy work. It's honest work, and I think it's important work. Like I've said, Holly and I have both done this before, but this is the first time we're doing it on our own homestead with animals that we've raised. And I think it's, like I said, I think it's very important that we're doing this. We eat meat. And in order to eat meat, I personally believe that it's important to know how your meat is prepared, where it comes from, what animals needed to be sacrificed in order to enjoy that meat. And so, obviously, we can't do that with every single meat item that we eat. We'd like to one day, but right now, this is a good start, I think.
So right now we're just getting the skin off the feet. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get the skin off the feet. What's in your wagon?
Over 100 pounds of chicken meat. They were sitting in there this morning, and now they're in this wagon. Hi there, yo folks. Welcome back to the Homestead on this chilly morning. We have a quick and interesting update for today's video. What's the update? Well, we've got a tractor now.
Bring it over this way more. My way. There you go. Okay, now bring it out. You're free to go. Woohoo! Success!
Howdy there, yo folks. I'm Holly, the modern yo woman, here with a very important announcement. Things are getting really serious here on the Homestead. We started out with a modest flock of laying chickens. We built up to a kitchen garden. Eventually, last year, we added meat birds, and as you may know, we just added turkeys, and we're about to get pigs. Now, you might think the next logical step, what are they gonna do? You know, maybe they're gonna get a few sheep or get a family beef cow. We decided to skip straight to the black belt level of homesteading, and we have decided to raise a Homo sapien. Now, a lot of you out there who are raising Homo sapiens, you know just how much time and planning and forethought, you know how much of all of that goes into the operation, because we're not talking about a 6-week meat bird or a 6-month feeder pig. We are talking about a species that requires a full 18 years to come into maturity. So you gotta do some planning, and that's what Sean and I have been doing. So we actually got our Homo sapien planted back in December, believe it or not, and it's about 4 months along. So let's go take a look and see the progress. All right, so this is our little Homo sapien that we planted back in December. You can see now it's about 4 months along, really starting to take shape. You can see how it's filling out. It's already really starting to kind of look like a little farmer, which is pretty cool. It seems like it's right where it needs to be. Now, like I said, these take a long time to come into maturity. So this is 4 months. It'll really take up to about 9 months or like 40 weeks or so for it to fully harden off. That will be in the late fall. We're looking at like late September or something like that. And then once it's fully hardened off, we are gonna bring it indoors for the winter, where we will continue to nurture it.
All right, guys, enough tomfoolery. Here's what we're actually trying to say.
It's a It's okay, buddy. It's okay.
They got a piggy piggy.
He's a screamer.
Piggy number 2. Look at this turkey guy. Look at this.
Hi, Fred.
He's so cute.
You're a little noisy.
Who do we have here?
This is
Holly?
my mom, Jana. Hey, yo, folks.
She has just arrived 2 days ago.
2 days ago, yes. After 6 months of disassembling, deconstructing, 33 years of life in one place in Northwest Arkansas.
She's here. She's staying with us at the Homestead.
Yeah.
And we're very, very happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be
Thank
here.
you for bringing yourself, number one, but thank you for bringing all the stuff that makes life a little bit easier here on the Homestead, like that four-wheeler that I happen to have a lot of fun tooling around
He's not
on.
excited about it at all.
I'm more excited about Jana being here.
I think it's a little iffy as much as you've been on that four-wheeler.
So when baby Henry comes along, you've decided on the name, right?
I was dubbed Yonana. Jana the Yonana.
Jana the Yo Nana.
No yo mama jokes at me.
No, she's the Yo Nana. So
Nana Jana.
Nana Jana.
Jana, yeah.
So
Yo
we
Nana
got
Jana.
the Yo Grammy, the Yo Poppy. She's the Yo Mama.
Yeah, the jokes go to her.
Don't get too excited. So if you've watched the channel for a little while, then, well, just for the past few episodes, then you know that my mother-in-law, Nana Jana, is staying with us right now, and she has actually struck upon somewhat of an interesting idea that made Holly and I and my parents very excited. And what might that idea be, Jana?
To stick me out in the woods and let me build my little dream shop and barn dominium.
Yeah.
To stick her out in the woods. Hey, Dad.
Hey.
Look at this. The flooring is in.
Yes, sir.
This is so much better than what used to be here, and I'll show pictures of what it used to be like. Flooring is done, number one, but also these cabinets have been redone, all by this man right here. There you go, folks. You see that house? It's our house. Our baby was born there. Ladies and gentlemen, yo folks, I'd like you to meet the yo baby, little Henry. He's 4 days old, and it was quite a special time bringing him here. We decided to have a home birth.
I knew from the beginning that I wanted a home birth, and the home birth was the right journey for us. And now,
Thank you. Thank you for everything that you guys do for us. Just watching, just sending comments is huge for us. Thank you. I've got the next month off from work, so I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff here in the homestead and on other homesteads. So stay tuned. We've got a lot going on.
taking care of your baby.
And taking care of my babies, both of you guys. I think we're probably going to be getting some new layer chicks. I think we're going to be harvesting sweet potatoes. I think we'll probably be buying a new freezer. There's a lot that I'm going to pack into this month. So stay tuned, guys. And until we see you guys next time, remember, as always, unless it's for pregnancy, unless it's for labor, slowly. All right, just whenever you're ready, it's rolling.
Thanks for watching and Merry Christmas.
Yes. I'm sorry. I just did not expect you. Can we start over?
Why?
No. We really appreciate your watching for the last couple of years, and we look forward to more,
Was
shenanigans?
I practicing? You didn't tell me you were ready.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for watching and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, and thanks for watching for the last 2 years or so.
Ditto.
There. That's perfect. From all of us on the Homestead, Holly, Henry, myself, and Nana, who's behind the camera. Thank you, Nana. We'd like to thank you for your encouragement, your support, and your wisdom for the past 2 years. And we'd also like to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Right, Henry?
Merry Christmas.
You got a smile for them?
Merry Christmas.
You got a smile for them, bud?
He's got a hiccup.
He's got a
He's
hiccup.
got a hiccup.
Until we see you guys next time, remember, as always, slowly.
Slowly.